Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here today to review Dexter New Blood. This is, of course, episode 9. So, one thing that I guess I can make a rebuttal from an episode before, because I think I just called, of course, Dr. Patel. I ended up calling her just a straight up just veteran before, of course, tying into Dexter just needing supposedly some ketamine for his goat. And so it seems now that I know that doctor's name, I guess when I go into this, I'll actually say this doctor's name because it seems that this is a much more reoccurring character than I thought I would be for this episode. But one thing about this episode I'll go out and say this episode has a finale quality to it. So I'm assuming in the next episode there has to be something going on with certain characters, but I'm going to leave it at that. The only thing that I'm kind of not satisfied about this episode is I feel like there is a story to be told and it isn't there. And I was like, wait a minute, like I want to know this story. Like I want to know how this happened in this episode, but they didn't give it to us because they didn't. But there's a lot going on in this one. There's a lot kind of to unpack here. We have, of course, Deb, who is consistently in this episode trying to be the voice of reason, trying to stop Dexter at every single second. It's just like, no, like, don't tell him, don't say things, keep your mouth shut throughout most of this episode. And having really Deb wanting to go on and come up with some other kind of reasoning against what Dexter is just go on and say in this episode. But we also have a flashback in this episode, which, of course, is to help us out in current time. So it's really fun to actually have Dexter really just looking into the camera for this episode, because there's just a story to be told here and a formula to go on and talk about. Really, also with this episode, we are to really see if Kurt here is to get away or if he is to kind of stand his ground, and we'll see where that character is to lead. And it's kind of interesting, like what Audrey is doing in this episode, where it seems like she's pushing a lot for certain things. And what all that is to really just continue to push to be. Not quite 100% sure, but it seems that we might have Angela with a real like conundrum here at the end of this episode also, with how Audrey's kind of pushing on things and how Angela is to go on and start to possibly put pieces together for her whole quick figuring of things out through these seemingly number of episodes. Or it seems like she's going to go on and not bother with all the evidence in front of her. But like a really good, really fun episode, which sounds weird. It's a fun episode of murder. But I'm being honest. So yeah. So going in this one, I think that's all they want to say for the cryptic-like sense of things, because I feel like there's big, massive things that I want to go on and talk about. We have Angela kind of much more investigating the Bay Harbor butcher cases, still having us re-reference Dokes here, and having a seeking suspicion that it may not have ever been really Dokes, and it could have been somebody else. And so yeah, and we have Angela, who might have also that same kind of feeling. But will she go on and act upon that. Spoilers. So let's go into that double five time territory. Let's just go into this thing called spoiler time. Spoiler time. It's about that time I'm going to spoil this episode. So we start out, of course, in a place called Mr. Wiggles Playland, where Dexter is to show Harrison via a flashback his way of doing things, his rules that Harry is to give him. And so we have Dexter in the good old fashioned kill shirt that he has been known to wear through the Dexter show. And I was like, like, this is so cool that they're going back to this, to just kind of showing a kill from before with actually Dexter's like shirt again, which like I didn't think that we were ever going to get back to this. I didn't think we were going to showcase this again. I thought it was just we're gonna stick to this same old new approach, or this same new approach. I mean, but it seems like they're going back and kind of giving us flashbacks for them. Like, this is good. This is good. Like, because it reminds me of the Dexter show that they're going back into Dexter things. So, but let's get into it. So, Dexter is to go on into Mr. Wiggles' playland and is to see that this clown is playing around with a lot of kids, of course, doing birthday parties and a number of other things. So, Dexter is to come back to this place after closing to now have Dexter go on and want to find the trophy case that, of course, every killer is to have. And so we have Dexter going on and opening up this medicine cabinet and realizing that there's nothing in there. But Dexter is to, of course, say, like, well, if it seems like it's like a secret hiding place, it probably is. So Dexter, of course, is to take out this medicine cabinet to go and find these number of pictures of all these kids that this clown had killed at some point. So we have, of course, Dexter kind of lining up all these pictures and lighting up this kill room that's filled with plastic. But before that, we of course have the clown making his way back to this playland to, of course, have Dexter go and needle him, take him down, and then go and plastic wrap him up, and of course to show him all of the horrible things that he has ever done, which is to basically just show him a lineup of pictures, and he is to, of course, be taped to this slide. And so Harrison is like, okay, so you're telling me that you're like intimidating this guy, you're showcasing him all of the horrible things that he's ever done, and like, is that it? Like, is that all you do? You just kind of like Batman your way into scaring this guy straight so that way he doesn't go and do this again? And so Deb is looking at Dexter, is like, you better not tell him further than that. And so Dexter's like, okay, like, I won't. So Dexter goes like, yeah, like, that's it. Like, that keeps the dark passenger at bay. Because Dexter is to tell Harrison that he has a dark passenger. It's like, oh, that's what you call it? And Dexter's like, yes. So, but Dexter goes on, and in his dream sequence, he stabs this clown, and then of course takes care of the body, but we don't actually see that. This is all just a pretend imaginary thing. And so, but we have Dexter telling Harrison that that this guy has to fit the code, that there has to be 100% proof that this guy had killed someone, that this guy had been a murderer, so it's like a murderer needs to go after a murderer to get him off the streets, to kind of go after the wrong guy, kind of thing. So, and now, so after that moment, we eventually have this supposedly being Christmas now. And so the very next day, we of course have both Dexter and Harrison who are like exchanging, of course, gifts. And Harrison goes on and is to, of course, be kind of given mostly clothes. And then Dexter, of course, is to give Harrison a gun. I'm like, what is this, a shoot your eye out kind of thing? That's what I was kind of thinking here, because this show technically has a Christmas theme, so like they're going to keep with that kind of thing, even though it may not actually be Christmas when this thing comes out. It's still going to be like, well, like it's going to be a week or whatever behind, but that's fine. Like that's cool. So Dexter is to tell Harrison that the reason why he's giving him a gun here is to have him blend in, because Harrison is to realize that like all the other kids have guns, and he's like, yeah, exactly. So Harrison mentions if Dexter has ever used a gun on any of his people before, and Dexter's like, no, because it's too loud, and also he's not that good of a shot. So Harrison is like, well, could we practice? Could we go outside and like have me practice with this gun? So Dexter takes him out and is to have him shoot these beer bottles. And so at first, like Harrison misses the shot, and then Dexter is just like, well, kind of line it up. He also had to teach him how to take the safety off, but Harrison goes on and shoots the two bottles, and Dexter, of course, is like, well, natural, way better, I guess, than Dexter, I guess, at some point. So we then go on and have Dexter now giving, uh, of course, Harrison another blending in item, which is to, of course, be a Christmas sweater for them to both go on to make it to Audrey's and Angela's. So, because they have to exchange more gifts at this place, which, like, okay, like, was that a tradition that that all of a sudden happens now? Like, I didn't know that these people were all that close, but then when really looking at it, like, Angela was technically with Dexter at some point, but like there's this whole kind of like back and forth of should they kind of thing, because like Dexter is trying to like step away, but it seems like Audrey is pushing for them to do things. So we have Harrison, while talking to Dexter, also talking about Kurt and what they should do with him. Like, should they be worried right now? At kind of the point when they're kind of talking about this whole story, and really they're not sure where exactly Kurt is at, and so they're thinking that he probably has run off, but uh, they're wanting to eventually go after him, but like they're wanting to like kind of see if he re-shows up, if he's run off, and whatever, to kind of figure out what's the next step here. So we have these exchanges of gifts after uh, Dexter and Harrison is to arrive at Audrey's and Angela's place after it seems that Audrey is to have made monkey bread, I believe. And so Audrey used to go and get monkey bread, and it seems like Dexter is starting to like scarf it down. So I guess the gift for Dexter is to be another Christmas sweater, and he's like, "Oh, you're feeding my addiction." And Harrison was to, of course, give Dexter, while at their house, a sketch of Deborah because I guess Harrison was to remember Deborah. Uh, it'll be really interesting what Harrison is to possibly sketch in the future if we possibly have him doing some sketches in the future. Plus, I'm also really curious about something, and I'll get to that soon here. But we have Harrison who gives Audrey I'm assuming a scarf. It looked like a blanket to me, but I guess it's a scarf. And Harrison was kind of telling Audrey, it's like, well, like my dad works at a certain store, and like, well, yeah, like we have Harrison who's kind of like, he's worked a job, but like it's like probably not getting a big massive check out of that so far, even though he's working hard. So Angela is to also get like a search and seizure book that Dexter is to mention that Harry was to have one of those, and he saw that Angela didn't have one of those. So it's like, oh, that's nice. Give her a book for Christmas. But I guess so. Sorry about that. So we go on here and we have, of course, uh, did everybody get their gifts? What did Harrison get? Uh, because he also got other things. He got like socks and like a under or like a kind of shirt for the weather. And so what did Harrison get from Audrey? I'm trying to think of what it is. I can't think of what it is. Let me know in the comments below what Harrison had got to Audrey. Maybe I'll remember what exactly it is, um, because I do not remember. Uh, so Caldwell ends up coming in to this house because he didn't realize that Dexter and Harrison would be here. So Curtis to go on and deliver these things for both Angela and Audrey. And the one thing that I'm thinking here, if this is like some kind of food that I think he was to deliver there, is that food poisoned? That's my kind of question. Like, I wouldn't be getting food from that guy. But anyways, uh, what is to happen here is after Kurt is to leave, we have both Dexter and Harrison who want some kind of excuse to leave. So Dexter and Harrison are to say that they're going to this this place to fire off rounds, and they also later on are to go on a hike because Dexter is to mention about a blood moon, and like, hey, let's go on a hike supposedly, but they're really going after something else. So both Harrison and Dexter are going on, and so their plan is to, of course, go after Kurt. So what is Angela doing here? Because she has some slight suspicions. So Angela goes on in this episode, and she, of course, is consistently still listening to Mary effing Kill, and so she's kind of doing some more research on the Bay Harbor Butcher by listening to these podcasts. And so the more and more she listens to it, the more and more she gets engulfed in it. To all of a sudden, like, Audrey is touching Angela's shoulder. She's like, "Oh, you scared me." It's like, "Oh, you scared me." So Audrey goes off to figure out that the only person that would probably have ketamine is to, of course, be Dr. Patel. And so we, of course, have Angela going off here to check with Dr. Patel if anybody that, of course, is to possibly be Dexter, be the culprit who was to have had ketamine being taken from Dr. Patel. So we go on and we have this doctor go and list off all the people who had, of course, these purchases, and it seems that Angela's like, "Oh, so it wasn't Jim." But then all of a sudden, then the veterinarian did just have this kind of delay. It's like, "Oh yeah, and Jim," and then Angela's like, I wish it wasn't him for whatever reason." So now Angela is going and checking still with the picture of the kind of the injection from the one guy, and comparing it to the injection from the Bay Harbor Butcher case. So Angela's just like, "God, like, I think it's him, but I don't want to say it's him, but it's so tempting to just like just just say like it's him." And so we now have both Harrison and Dexter wanting proof to now figure out that Kurt is to, of course, be the killer of numerous women, all of these runaways. And so Dexter is to take, of course, Harrison with this, of course, this four-wheeler to make it to Kurt's compound to find some kind of trophy somewhere. And so now in the episode prior to this, which I didn't understand what the heck that Kurt was doing, Kurt went on and he was putting some kind of Play-Doh over one of these girls that he had killed, his face. And I was like, what is he doing there? Why is he doing this? Like, shouldn't he just dispose of the body like Dexter does? This seems kind of odd. Why is he trying to redraw this woman's face? And like, he must have fixed it. He must have done a good job, or he must have just gotten rid of the body. And so we have them kind of looking all over Kurt's place, and while they're doing that, we have Kurt going on and pouring gasoline all over Dexter's house and putting a flame to it. So we have Dexter, who is, because I feel like there is a bit of dialogue between Deborah and Dexter that I'm missing here, so let's get into that. Because Dexter is lining up all of his knives and getting ready for him to kill again, and Deborah is saying like, "Hey, don't put Harrison through this. Like, give him therapy, give him something else. Like, don't let this like happen. Don't let him kill or see you kill." And so really just Dexter is to realize that this is the best, this is best for both Dexter and for Harrison, and Dexter won't see it any other way. to the point of, like, I'm just kind of wondering what's going to happen when, like, is Deb always going to be there? Is Deb, like, I don't think Deb can be the voice of reason anymore. So it'll be interesting if Deb ever, like, disappears and someone else comes in. Wouldn't it be interesting if the whole entire time, or for the next season, wouldn't it be interesting to possibly have Rita come in and be uh, the new Harry for another season? That would be cool. If they could change it up. I love Deb. Believe me, I love Deb. But it would be really interesting to have Rita be here as this kind of medium to go on, and if Deborah isn't working to convince Dex to stop what he's doing, maybe Rita coming in would be a better thing. Would be a really cool thing. But I don't know if the girl who plays Rita, Dexter's previous wife, is to be busy, because it always seems like she's doing some kind of project. But it'd be cool if they could get her to be the next. Wouldn't that, like, who would be the next Harry? Unless everybody would be like, no, I want Harry to come back. I want Harry to be Harry. Because I have to I have to say that, like, oh, this person is the new Harry. It's weird. The new, like, consciousness technically of Dexter. But anyways, let's go back into this scenario here. So Dexter is to go on and find that Kurt is to have a kind of an underground like ladder of a thing, because we have both Harrison and Dexter going and taking this drone and going through the whole compound. And so we of course have Harrison, who's still now kind of talking to Dexter about things, about the code, about all that stuff, and how, like, Harrison had gone to talk to Audrey, and he had said that he's much happier that him and his father had this talk finally. But, like, he didn't tell Audrey that. He just said, like, I'm just more happier, and Audrey could sense that. And so really, Harrison is to mention, because of Kurt, now Harrison is to have this drone. And so we go on here and we have these guys talk it out. We also had Dexter at one point getting rid of Elric's body, and I completely forgot about that, because that's a thing. We had Dexter just kind of chopping Elric's body up and tossing it away. Of course, it seems that the way of which that they get rid of all these bodies is to cremate them, from the way of which that they got rid of Matt's body, or Dexter did. So, and I just want to also cover the whole Elric thing, because I feel like that's a quick thing to just toss in there somewhere. So Dexter and Harrison are talking about things, and really talking about what their plan is, and is their plan, of course, to also have Dexter tell Harrison to not get caught. Like, that's the number one rule, is to not get caught. So, but also to have, like, of course, the proof that Kurt has these trophies. So they go on and they find this little, I'm assuming, bunker, this underground place. And so Dexter is to go on and is to kind of pick this lock. And Harrison's like, you've got to show me that. And Dexter's like, sure. And again, Kurt is still going off burning Dexter's home, thinking that Dexter and Harrison are going to be coming out of it, but he would be wrong. And so he's just kind of waiting for them to come out, but no one ever comes out. Like he's laser scoping, hoping that they're going to come out, and they never do. And Dexter had called Angela, telling him, like, hey, blood moon, hiking, see you later. Like, we're bonding, we're heavily bonding. And Angela's like, okay, go ahead and bond, go ahead and do whatever you want. So, because it still feels like Angela and Dexter are still, like, there's some very unsure waters right there. And it'll be interesting to see how this season wraps up, to just be kind of wondering where Angela and Dex's relationship is, and whether or not Angela is going to just like, okay, well, Dexter, here's the cuffs. You're a murderer, Mr. Morgan? Because it's not Mr. Grinch. Anyways, pushing on. So, Dexter and Harrison are making their way into this underground bunker down this ladder, and Harrison is to realize there is a tripwire that is to turn on this camera, and Dexter's like, well, hey, like, we want Kurt to know we're here, so let's trip this tripwire, and show him we're here, and so Kurt is to see this video, and it's like, they're there, they got ahead of me. So now they're going through and seeing Kurt's, like, aftermath room. It's not really a kill room because he doesn't kill anybody here. He just brings the bodies down here. I'm like, how exactly, like, did he bring the bodies down there? Because it feels like the more and more we go through there, it feels like there isn't definitively a way for him to just, like, put these did he drop them down here? Did he, like, put them in a sack? Like, did he carry the bodies like Dexter does? How would you go about that? Like, I want to kind of see the way of how he went and put these bodies in here, because that is a massive question. Because, like, because he shot him. Like, he shot him, so, like, anyways, pushing on. Maybe the cold was to, like, keep them, like, to where they don't bleed out. Kind of like how Elric had been so cold that, like, he, like, didn't leave any mess, which Dexter was like, yeah, like, Elric is so frozen that he's not going to leave a bloody mess. Woohoo. So, we go on and we have Dexter and we have Harrison that make their way continuously through this, this bat cave almost, and we find a number of bodies there, and we end up finding Molly's body in there. I'm like, wait a minute, where's the story of this? How did Molly die? I want to know, because I care about this character. And I'm freaking ticked that we don't know how she died. They should have stopped right there and said, like, okay, Molly died because of this. Or maybe that's what they're doing for the next episode, giving us a closure moment, because I want a closure moment. I liked Molly. I don't like that she's dead now. I think there was a lot of stuff that they could have done with this character, but just kind of treating her like, oh, no one cares. Like, no. Like, I want that story. I also didn't want her dead. Like, that was, like, I guess that was a shocking reveal for the show, but so, anyways. So, we of course now have Harrison really asking Dexter, it's like, you know what, you killed Mr. Wiggles, didn't you? And Deb is trying to, like, smush Dexter's mouth, not wanting to tell him this secret. And Dexter is like, you know what? Yes, I did kill him. And Harrison eventually asks Dexter, it's like, well, how many have you killed? He's like, hundreds. And so Dexter is mentioning to Harrison that he killed the Trinity Killer, that he's killed a number of other people, and because like Harrison is to kind of see Dexter like a Batman, so not a bad man, a Batman, weirdly. And I'm like, yeah, like because Dexter is Batman. He's freaking Batman. Michael C. Hall, Batman. Like I wouldn't like he's still a murderer, but like not Michael C. Hall. Michael C. Hall's not a murderer. He's Batman. And we went to that route. Funny enough, we went there. Man, is that funny? Gods and monsters. Yeah, we went that route. Um, so, uh, so now we have it where, of course, Kurt is to get ready, and we have Angela who is, of course, wanting to figure out where Molly is. And so it seems that Angela is to go on and find some tape recorder. And they're like, okay, this is kind of strange that Molly would have this kind of lying around in this safe. This seems kind of weird. So I'm wondering if there is going to be something here in this recording that's going to be this big, massive reveal of something in this show. What's the recorder for? Why would they have... Ooh! Here's my hope. I'm hoping that this recording is to be of Molly maybe being taken by Kurt. That would be great. It's weird that recording is in a safe. Like, I'm trying to put the pieces together what this recording is. Or maybe that Molly had found some evidence of something. I'm so curious right now what that recording is. So we'll figure that out. So we have Dexter, who is, of course, going on and finding out where Kurt is. And because Kurt is getting ready to put on his gear like he normally does to murder people. Kurt is getting into finding his gear. What is he doing in this place? Don't know. But Kurt is to go on and find Harrison. And, of course, like before, Kurt was to kind of do the, like, I'll shoot you later kind of thing. We have Harrison who appears in front of Kurt, like, I'm going to shoot you. And so Dexter is to go on and needle Kurt. And because Kurt is to go back and try to figure out where these guys are to go after them. That's what he's here for. I was like, good God, like, get it together. What is Kurt here for? So, Kurt, of course, gets taken out because Dexter's a pro, and Kurt doesn't realize that. So, Dexter is to get set up in all his plastic and his kill room, and is, of course, going to show Kurt all of the people that he had killed at some point. And so I'm assuming now most of these girls have all left from them being in these weird trophy boxes, because we don't really show them that much. So Dexter is consistently asking Harrison, it's like, well, hey, like, you don't have to go on and watch everything. Like, you can go and get some air. You don't have to watch me do this. But we also have Harrison asking about the plastic, and Dexter is like, well, don't get caught. Like, it's always the same old song and dance of don't get caught. So, Dexter wakes up. Uh, Dexter wakes up Kurt here, and so now Kurt, of course, is to immediately just kind of blame his father for Kurt doing what he is to do. And Dexter, of course, is like, hey, don't blame your father on that bullshit. Like, don't pull the dad card. Because the funniest thing is that Matt was going to do the exact same to Kurt before Matt was to die, and so Dexter tells Kurt that it's the vicious cycle of course, curving the blame somewhere else. So we have Kurt doing this amazing thing here by hearing what Dexter is to say here, and Kurt's like, man, like, are you trying to get some kind of justice out of this? Like, you're murdering me and you're trying to get justice out of this? Like, telling me about some code and some like, because we have Dexter who's mentioning again about Harry's code. And so Kurt turns around and is like, justice? Really? So we go on and we, of course, have Dexter go and uh, stab Kurt, and Harrison is watching the blood flow, watching the blood spill out of this table, and Harrison is to start to get reminded about the tub situation, the tub of blood that of course he was to witness to, and so Harrison is to get out of that bunker and get some fresh air. The one thing that is to, like, in my mind, be boggling is the fact that I feel like Harrison was to have blood on his boot when he walked away. Did Dexter possibly clean that? Are they going to find some bloody footprints somewhere that is to be, of course, Harrison's? Wouldn't that be interesting to kind of have maybe Harrison the culprit of all this? This is figuring it out. Maybe both Harrison and Dexter have to run out of town because, like, F this, no, like, this isn't going to work out. So now Dexter is to go on and start chopping up this body, and that, of course, is when Harrison is to leave, and because that's when the blood is to really just pour out. So Dexter goes and collects and puts all these bags because he's telling Harrison about getting certain garbage bags, and so Dexter starts pulling the garbage bags out, and Dexter mentions that he cuts the body into 9 pieces, unless depending on the size of the person. So Dexter goes on and is to give Harrison all these bags and tells him to put him into the 4-wheeler, the kind of the thing that they're in, the vehicle, whatever it's called. So we take this body to the crematorium or the yeah, and so Harrison is to mention like, well, hey, like, do you think anybody's gonna really notice him gone? And Dexter is like, well, like, people just run off all the time. So like that's kind of the justification of like Dexter is to kind of plan ahead to mention there is a a bunch of things that are set up to make it look like Kurt is leaving town, and so really that's to be the whole thing of it, is to make it look like Kurt left town. So there's kind of an easy way of like preparing for all that. So we of course go on and have Kurt and Harrison and Dexter going back to their house, realizing that it is burnt down. We have Audrey that's running to Harrison and hugging him, and we have Angela that is going and asking Dexter, it's like, well, hey, like, I called you numerous times, like, why didn't you answer? And Dexter's like, sorry, like, we were just bonding, we lost track of time. And so now that Dexter has no home and they're not going through the whole details about something, I guess like Dexter could just say, well, I guess I left the oven on or something. So Audrey is to mention that uh, well, hey, like, you guys need a house, like, you guys need a place to sleep or whatever. Like, how about you guys just kind of temporarily move in with us? And Dexter's like, oh, no, 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 we can go to a hotel, we can go to an inn. And Audrey's like, come on, like let them kind of be at our house. And Angela's like, well, I guess it's okay. So we go on and we end this episode with all the family making their way to Angela's house. And so Angela is to be getting a letter mentioning that Dexter had killed Matt, because Kurt had gone on to say that the main reason why Kurt was spending so much time with Harrison was because Kurt wanted to kill Harrison, because Kurt found out that Dexter had killed Matt. And Dexter had killed Matt because Matt had killed 5 people. So we have Angela getting this note, and she is to get these screws that are, of course, were from Matt. And so Angela still doesn't do anything with this. She's just kind of like still pondering. It's like, well, this could be a nice family, and like, I don't think Dexter's gonna kill me anytime soon. So like, we still have this kind of like back and forth about what Angela's really going to do here, and I want them to cement in the next episode where 100% her mind is at, and that she won't waver from that at any time soon. But I want there to be some kind of like let's get to a head here. I don't want this to be a massive cliffhanger where Angela is to not tell us where she wants this to go next. But yeah, so hopefully I've covered everything, but there might have been a slip somewhere, some little something that I probably didn't mention. But at least it feels like I got most of the character names correct for this one. I think I covered everything, so I'm going to get out of here. I'm sorry for how late these usually go into, but at least, yeah, I feel good about this one going out. So without a doubt, thank you for watching these. Thank you for going through any of these, because it's basically just hearing me just kind of like work things out. But without a doubt, I'm going to get out of here. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.